Good Sunday afternoon to you, Bournemouth fans, and day 36 in the AFC Bournemouth office since our season came to an end at Brentford, and it looks like there'll be significant movement in our search for a new manager in a few days. But in this short live stream, we're just going to take an opportunity just to thank Jonathan Woodgate for his efforts at the back end of last season. And we will take a look at some of the breaking news that's coming out today from Mark McAdam and Chris Temple. Got a couple of guests for me to get some thoughts as well. As always on this channel, we want to get your thoughts. And if you want to thank Jonathan Woodgate, just let us know in the chat. Just let us know what you're thinking. And there will be more live streams to come next week. I am sure of that. Also subscribe. We're currently at 450 on the channel. Thank you for your support, and we want to get to 500 before the season starts. So if you're not a subscriber yet, please do that now. And during this live stream, which will be a short one, do give the video a like as well. But let's get my guests on and let's thank Jonathan Woodgate for his time. And let's have a look at Imminent Parker coming in. Joining me today, then, we've got Steve Hensman, a Cherries Red Army contributor. How you doing, Steve?
Very well, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, very, very good. And John Spark as well. How you doing, John?
Yeah, doing pretty good, thanks. Glad to be back on.
To those currently watching right now, if my stream does drop out a bit on my picture, I'm having Wi-Fi issues, but hopefully it's not too bad. So let's take a look at that then, Steve. It broke earlier today, and Mark McAdam was the first that I saw to break on Twitter, and he said the following statement. Let's take a look at what Mark said. He said, Jonathan Woodgate has been told his contract at the club will not be renewed. His current deal ends on Wednesday. Scott Parker and Fulham are finalising the mutual termination of his contract, expected to be done within the next 48 hours. Your initial thoughts when those tweets come through, and also Chris Temple's confirmed a similar statement.
Well, yeah, we always knew this was going to happen. We always knew Woody was on a short-term deal to the end of the season, and social media being what it is, we've been well aware of the club chasing Scott Parker for a while now, and it seems like it's all fully, pretty much fully done and dusted now. Yeah, I mean, as I say, we kind of knew this was going to we come to expect this, really.
And John, as I said, it's 36 days now since that game at Brentford. About 22 days since I think Jeff Mostyn had an interview with Chris Temple. But as time went on, it does sound like they were trying to get Scott Parker other than trying to keep Jonathan Woodgate.
Yeah, it was certainly something we've known that the club have been, or certainly the board have been very, very interested in getting Scott Parker in. And if Fulham hadn't gone up when we went down, I think we probably would have tried to get Parker then, as opposed to sort of sending them for Jason Tindall. But it's a new face, another young manager, or relatively young manager in terms of experience, but someone that has been there and actually got a team promoted. We're a second-year parachute team now rather than the first-year one that he managed to make up with Fulham, and he had obviously a few months that he'd worked with Fulham beforehand before getting them up the next season. So, there's at least an element of experience that he can bring to the role. But it's a bit of a shame to see Woodgate go completely. I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't have been disappointed to see him stay on in some capacity, even if it wasn't as a manager. I don't think I've ever really heard of a situation where a manager then gets demoted down to coaching staff, so I'm not sure how plausible that is. But it was certainly, it felt a better second half to the season than the first by the end of the year.
Steve, did you want to come in there?
No. I was just agreeing. I was one of the people that would have liked him to stay around, stuck around a bit, because like John's just said, he did turn the tide for us for a little bit. Some might say that he did the bare minimum with the players we had, but we certainly were on a turgid run of form before he stepped in, and he changed our fortunes and got us into the playoffs, where we should have been. So I think he did a reasonable job, and the players obviously responded to him. So I would have liked to have seen him stay around. But like John said, how many times have you ever seen someone demoted, someone new come in and take up the reins? It just probably wasn't going to ever happen.
So, Steve, a weird set of circumstances that brought Jonathan Woodgate to the club. Came in as a coach under Jason Tindall. 48 hours later, he took sort of caretaker charge. And then 3 weeks on from that was a Sunday as well. Remember, it was my birthday, actually, 21st February. I can remember it. And he was given the head coach until the end of the season. I mean, I wasn't for it. I thought his record at Borough wasn't great. I didn't think he was any better than what we had under Jason Tindall, but I backed him. But that initial set of circumstances, and he did sort of get some results early on. First win against Birmingham, and then obviously a cup win as well. So it was off the back of losing at QPR, bearing in mind, but they felt like he had done enough to sort of be given the responsibility to try and get us up.
Yeah, like you said, it was a really difficult situation to be brought into the club. Well, especially as he was like days before he was coach, and then thrusted into the manager's position. And to be fair to him, I felt he just did some basic things, and he just did the basic things right. He settled on. I think he started off playing sort of more like a 4-3-3 sort of formation, and he got a few results with that. Like you said, Birmingham. I don't think we lost in the first 3 games he was in charge. I think he had ball draw against Forest away. I think we scraped 1-0 against Rotherham as well, or something like that.
Yeah.
But then he did start to sort of change it around, and we thought, oh no, here we go again with the Tindall type, buggering around with the formation. I think he went to a back 3 then. We got beat. Is it QPR, like you said, in
Cardiff?
Yeah. But then he seemed to. I mean, I think even those are 2 games that Long scored in as well, sort of with his tap-ins. I thought,
I think he did.
Not even with Shane Long's best efforts, his tinkering didn't help. But then I think eventually he sort of settled on a sort of a 4-2-3-1, and we went on that bit of a run, the 7-game streak. And it looked like it just, because that was sort of for me, that was what we were crying out for, sort of just to get the square pegs in the square holes, not round pegs in square holes, sort of thing. And that for me was just a simple thing he did well, and it proved to serve him well.
Should we take a look at this record then, John? Let's take a look at Jonathan Woodgate as manager. Bournemouth there from February 2021, 23 matches. That does include the cup matches, I believe, against Burnley and Southampton. 113, drawn 2, lost 8. Now, mixed within that was the impressive 7-game win streak, John. But there were also games in there, especially at the back end of the season, that would have probably given us a different side in the playoffs. And there was obviously the situation in the playoffs in the second leg where I felt we saw a side of Woodgate that I didn't want to be given the full-time job moving forward.
I think, when you look at that record, what that doesn't tell you, of course, is sort of where he started and where he finished. Where technically, he brought us. When he came in, we were 6th. And when we finished the season, we were 6th. So, he certainly did a good enough job to sort of achieve the minimum targets that would have been expected of him. Steve was right. We all were a little bit apprehensive when we went to a back 3 against Cardiff and the QPR and Cardiff, and we lost both those games 2-1. And then there's those 3 games at the end of the season where, I think, we were a bit uncertain about how we were going to do heading into the playoffs. But apart from that, there was that very, very comprehensive set of 7 wins in a row, which was fantastic to see. It wasn't it wasn't back to the old Eddie Howe days, but there was certainly some very exciting football that went on there. And the Millwall away game is certainly a highlight of how good we could be going forward. But it's like Steve said, he really did. It felt like he put square pegs in square holes for a chunk of the team, and did make a couple of different changes, like putting Billing in number 10, which no one had done before, and he turned out
Prime Minister.
Sorry?
Made him Prime Minister?
Well,
I thought you said put him in number 10.
Put him in the number 10 role.
I know, I'm joking.
Billing's still working out his cabinet at this point. But yeah, it's thanks for knocking me off that stride there, Steve.
Sorry, mate. Sorry.
Yeah, it was the simple things he did right. I think his tactical decisions and his tactical changes in the middle of the game sometimes were a bit too late. I think we were all a bit uncertain about what he was doing in the playoff second leg. He loved to put on an extra couple of fullbacks in wide midfield. You know, there's all the kinds of things that sort of were the hallmarks, I think, of the things that Woodgate would do in the middle of a game or towards the end of a game, whereas there wasn't really too much to sort of say, this is what Woodgate ball is. And I don't think he would ever have got the chance to unless he was given the pre-season for next year. So we'll never know exactly what he could have gone on to do with the team, whether there was anything more he could have done with it, considering what might or might not happen with the squad. But he gave us a lot of good moments. And I think that was, when we were in a real rut and we were very, very down on the team as a whole, basically all the players we really just didn't like when it was the end of Tyndall's reign. We just weren't sure they were giving it all. We weren't seeing anything good coming out of the squad. We weren't seeing any progression. It was all the same. We were all bored. We were all disappointed. And Woodgate changed that. And that was, he gave us some confidence and belief again. So that's something we can all appreciate.
John says, Steve, think Woody has been treated harshly, to be honest. Hope Parker would keep him in his staff. This is quite interesting, Steve, because although I didn't want him to get the top job, I do feel that he has earned a spot in the club behind the scenes or in the backroom staff. Now, that's a delicate situation because we don't really know what the conversations have been had at the club and what the deal is with Scott Parker. Now, there's 2 points to this, I think. Firstly, I think, would Jonathan Woodgate want to drop down from that level now because it would feel like a demotion? And secondly, would Scott Parker want Jonathan Woodgate in his backroom staff, bearing in mind he has been at management level at the club? Could it be a player power thing or a managed power thing? And although they've played together, does that mean that they're good friends?
Well, no. Like you said, we're never going to know all these things because we're not privy to these conversations. But if I was in Woodgate's shoes and I'd been thrust into that position and done a reasonable job, and he's obviously he wants to be a manager because he's been previously at Middlesbrough. He took that was a risky, it was a hard job and it proved to be for him not a very long job. But he obviously wants to go down that route. He's had previous experience as a scout, I believe, and he's also had under 21s experience with Middlesbrough. So the natural progression for him would be to stay in a manager's position, I would feel. To take a demotion, I wouldn't expect him to want to do that. I would expect him to want to further his career now and go on to try and improve on what he's done here with someone else. The thing about him and Parker, I don't know. I don't know whether they were great friends. I think they did play together at Spurs for a while. But like you say, you don't know how they got on. Just because they were teammates doesn't make them good friends and doesn't mean they got on off the pitch. Got on off the pitch. So, who knows? But I would have liked to have seen him say, like I said, because I think he's earned something out of what he did because he did turn our fortunes around, albeit slipped up towards the end a little bit.
John, you just made me aware as well that it looks like there's a statement from Jonathan Woodgate. I think this is on Chris Temple as well that's retweeted on Twitter. I won't read all of this out, but if you check out Chris Temple's Twitter, you will see that Jonathan Woodgate has sort of left a parting message, and I'll check that out more. But I won't read all of that statement. Final message, John, for John is that he surprised all of us, really. He done better than I thought he would. I think the only thing that did impress me with him is how he came across. I thought Jason Tyndall really struggled from a communication point of view with the media, but he sort of dealt with that quite well, and that automatically got the fans on side.
Yeah, I think he very much came across quite well. I mean, that little clip at the end of the Norwich game, isn't it? Where he finishes just going like, my back's killing me, isn't it? up the Cherries. I really would like to keep that somewhere in GIF form or whatever, just for any good moment. Yeah, he certainly he exceeded my expectations, really, in terms of I really wasn't entirely sure what I was going to get, and it wasn't exactly a good record that he had at Middlesbrough. But he came in as a coach to try and get further experience, because he understood his shortcomings at Middlesbrough. He knew he didn't get a good job, and he didn't do a good job, so he knew he needed to get some more experience, go out and learn more. Came into Bournemouth hoping to be, a number 3 and just help out in the background, learn off some more experienced heads, and get thrust into the spotlight of the managerial job 3 days later. And by the end of the season, he has come out with a lot more credit than when he went in. And I think that was what his aim would have been as a coach. He would like to have gained that experience and done a good job to say, this is what I've learned. And like anyone, like I am also putting plenty of applications out there. I know what it's important to say. I have succeeded at places. So, I think, we're all, a little disappointed that he's going to be gone from the club completely. I'm not disappointed that he's not getting the manager's job, but I am, really pleased with what he did for the club. And I think he's, I don't think anyone will have a negative opinion of him at all from the fan base. They'll all been delighted with the job that he did up to the last 80 minutes, and all the best to him in whatever he goes on to do next.
If you do have a parting message for Jonathan, if you want to put it in the chat now, we will show it on the screen. But I'm sure there's more updates to come in the next week, Steve. And Scott Parker looks like he's going to be the man to take over the reins of rebuilding our club, rebuilding our squad potentially, and taking this team forward. How do you feel about Scott Parker taking over?
I'm sort of nonplussed with it, really. I don't see that it's much of an upgrade on Woodgate, personally. I don't really know much about Scott Parker. I can't say I've watched a lot of Fulham play. I've seen Woodgate up in person. I've obviously seen him quite a lot on what he does. I felt Fulham were slightly lucky or slightly fortunate in that playoff final to get promoted. So people keep going, "Oh, he's got a team out of the league." Yes, he has. But you watch that playoff final, and there was a moment of brilliance by a fullback to put them in the lead, and they were getting battered and hit them on the break towards the end of that game. Didn't really rip up trees in the Premier League. I know he's had stuff going on in the background at Fulham with the board. So I don't know. Again, I don't know the story in and outs of that. Maybe that was a big contributing factor to what he could and couldn't do there. It does worry me what I hear from a lot of Fulham fans and what's been touted around from a lot of Fulham fans of his style of football. But if he's been sold a project here, and we're going to go with him for the next sort of 2-3 seasons with a plan, a way to move forward, and this next season is going to be a bit of a rebuild sort of thing, then I'll back him, no doubt. I'll always back the manager, and obviously because I want success for our club. And if he brings that with a good plan in place, then I'll be more than happy.
And when it does break, John, that the deal's been done, we will bring more content to you, Cherries fans. Now, I was not for JT. I thought I put a good case forward why I didn't want JT to be given the job, as great as a legend he was alongside Eddie. I think I was proved right on that one. Woody, I wasn't for either. I think he surprised me, like I said, and he'd done a better job than I thought he actually would. But again, didn't want him to have the job. But Scott Parker, I am positively excited about. Now, I'm going to have to back this up in future streams when he does get the gig. But I think there is hope, there is optimism. And I think there's a man there that if we do need to rebuild this squad and certain players go out and we do have a little bit of money and we need to get some loans from some of these academies at the top 6 teams, surely we've got a chance with Scott Parker.
There's always a chance. There's a chance with any manager, but I'm similar. I'm positive about the sort of the inevitable Parker appointment. partly due to the fact that the board has gone out and, aimed for a target and gone and done it, because I think the last time they did that was when they got Eddie from Burnley. So, that's a positive move, even if it seems as though they've had to spend a month to wrangle paying as little amount of money to Fulham as possible, which is good. I think there's nothing wrong with that. If you can get something for less money, go and do it. But yeah, I'd like to see, like you said, I'd like to see more youth players coming through. We've lost 2 when we shouldn't have done, because we had managers that weren't willing enough to say, I'm going to start putting you into the squad a bit more, or at least to listen to their demands. So you've got a good few youth products that we need to sort of get involved more in the match day squads. We've got a number of players that will probably be moving on. We've got issues with the training facility whenever that's going to be finished off. There's a lot of things that are up in the air at the moment. So if we can make sure that we have a manager that has at least a little bit of experience, but certainly one that the club is willing to put their full weight behind and say, we will stick with you going forward, we can build around that and we can push forward. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the new era. And yeah, just can't wait for the season to get started again.
How are you Cherries feeling then in the last 30 minutes when I just put a poll out ahead of this live stream, and with Scott Parker on the brink of being named AFC Bournemouth manager? How does this appointment make you feel? And the Cherries fans are voting 65.4% in favour, being positive and excited, 3.8% frustrated, and a 30.8% probably in Steve's camp of a meh. So that's how we're currently feeling. Now, before more content drops this week, we have got some stuff going on the channel at the moment. We did the live fixture stream, which is currently on there, which you can check out with Mike Botto, and that looks at the fixtures and the calendar for AFC Bournemouth. I mean, John, you pointed out as well, there's a Carabao Cup tie as well at the start of the season, I think after the first game against MK Dons. I mean, you excited about that game?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that it's not going to be 11 changes again and we turn up and perform terribly and get dicked. It's going to be, it should hopefully be good fun. MK Dons, from the podcast that I listen to that cover the Football League, MK Dons have gotten some rave reviews as the kind of football they play. So I'm really excited to see what happens there. And of course, Andrew Sermon is at MK Dons at the moment. So that'll be a really nice homecoming for him to come. And I certainly hope he plays. Particularly if fans are allowed back in, because him, like many players and like the manager, never got a proper send-off. So it would have been, so it'll be lovely for him to get back and take the applause of the Cherries fans again. So I am looking forward to that one.
Yep, maybe seeing Andrew Sermon line up against AFC Bournemouth, that'll be interesting. Steve, as well, there was some Danjuma news that came out as well. I mean, got any thoughts on what Arnie's doing nowadays?
Who knows? Massaging his ego somewhere, probably. Yeah, well, I think we're all pretty much, sold on the fact that he'll be going. It's just a matter of who and when.
Do we let him walk away like as easy as it could be for him? I mean, he has got a contract until 2024, and I think there is room for us to push for a bigger fee that I'm always seeing of about 20 million.
Yeah, I think his stock's obviously exceptionally high at the moment. Had a really, really, a great season for us. But he's obviously made it quite clear that he doesn't want to. He thinks he doesn't want to do another season in the Championship. I think there was a bit too much made of all that Leeds stuff, and he's not. I don't think he was putting us down. I just think for his own progression, he needs to go to a better league, and I think there'll be very many suitors for him. I believe West Ham are looking at him, and a couple of other teams. And I think if we get 25, 30, I would say that's a sort of figure I believe that would be fair for him, judging on the season he's just had.
It's not quite Snake yet, is it, John?
No, not at all. And I think it's a bit different to him coming out halfway through a season and going,
Yeah.
I wasn't trying. And also we're not going to be in the threat of relegation either. So, yeah, there's plenty of reasons why that's not a Ryan Fraser moment. More akin to a Josh King type moment, I would say. And that was what would worry me if we hung around, is that he might play, but he's certainly not gonna. He's going to have a few back injuries, let's say. Yeah, I think I don't think many people disagree with what he said. It's just Leeds are a bigger club, and he's grown the Championship. It's like, yeah, I mean, you just got to be a bit more. I think he felt he was painted into a corner in the interview, and he had to answer, and maybe he could have just handled that better. But yeah, we know he's gone. It's just the club need to push for 25-30 million as opposed to 20 or something like that. But we know how good he is. We know he's easily capable of playing. He could play probably in a Europa League, maybe even get into a Champions League side. He really is that good. So
Still think it's mad that some of these players trip up in these interviews, or they get caught doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. But there we go. I'm sure it'll always continue to happen. What else is going on the channel? We're building the ultimate AFC Bournemouth best 11 from the Eddie Howe years. You can check out episode 1, goalkeeper. That's currently on the channel, and episode 2 dropped on Friday. That's the right back. So see who's in goal and who's picked up that first position in the defence. We'll be having the centre backs, episode 3, coming out this week. And at the back end of next week, we'll hopefully have the left backs coming to you for episode 4 as well. So make sure you hit the like button. We hope you enjoyed that. And that content will be coming to you through pre-season as a filler outside of transfers, when the manager sort of confirmation comes, etc. And also subscribe as well. Final summary then, Steve. For Woodgate, did a great job in the end. Not quite enough to get us back in the Prem, but he done a better job than I think we thought he was going to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly he's not done his career any harm. Let's put it that way. And he's certainly probably raised a few eyebrows, actually, and people probably might have taken a little bit more notice of him. Because like we said, Middlesbrough didn't work out well for him, but it went reasonably well for him at Bournemouth. So I wish him all the best in the future, whatever he ends up doing. And yeah, certainly no sour grapes of anything or resentment from anything he did.
And could he go to Barnsley, John? Because I think someone put in the chat that the Barnsley job's now up with Ishmael going to West Brom.
Yeah, I saw that link there that someone put in the comments as well. It'd be very different to what he's done with Bournemouth. I'll tell you that. He'd have to show his adaptability to work with the squad that's there at Barnsley, because the budget they've got there is a hell of a lot lower than ours was, and the standard of, well, not the standard of players, but just the style of play and how we'd have to work with that. I reckon he showed his adaptability. I think he could definitely do it. I just think that, maybe, it is certainly, I don't think he's going to get a job that's anywhere close to the kind of height that Bournemouth have been at in the last 5 years. He's not going to get a Premier League job anytime soon. He's going to have to show his chops further in either the Championship or League One. But wherever he goes, I'll definitely, see sort of keep an eye on how he does, and I really wish him all the best.
Hopefully he'll get a full season.
Yeah, that would be nice. John, great to see you. Cheers for joining me on this live stream and this breaking news today.
No problem. Thanks again, Kurt.
Steve, I'm sure we'll see you on some more videos coming up very soon as well.
Yeah, cheers, Kirk. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers for everyone currently joining us on this live stream. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, day 36. Jonathan Woodgate will not be staying at AFC Bournemouth, and maybe in about 2 days' time, Scott Parker will be leaving Fulham, and then I'm sure he'll be signing as manager for AFC Bournemouth. Leave your comments that you may have within our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button and give this video a like as well. But Woodgate, it wasn't to be. We wish you all the best in your future adventures. But until the next video, from me, Steve and John, we'll see you soon. Up the cherries.
Up the Cherries. Up the Cherries.